gamers and gameritas! Hooray! I'm back! Woo! Sorry, I keep saying, ooh, I'm back on YouTube. I'm gonna be uploading videos, and then I just don't for about half a year? Half a year. I would say half a year is a good average. Yeah, life is really... Bitch, please? Life has been really getting in the way. As you can see, I'm in a completely new place. I've got a sick gaming shelf behind me though. That's pretty sick. Look at that. I've even got my own little felt board. I now live completely on my own. No, it's fine. I'm cool. I'm actually quite happy with what I've managed to achieve in this place with numerous charity shop visits and a lot of tears. Anyway, enough of that rubbish. You are here for one thing and one thing only, and that is Daddy Kratos. So you might have seen from my Instagram at HaleFail. Why? Ooh, those chips look good though. You might have seen from my Instagram at HaleFail, shameless plug, that I have been playing my fair share of God of War. By fair share, I mean it's overtaken my life and I've spent every waking moment playing it, and when I've not been playing it, I've been thinking about it or talking about it with people, but that's beside the point.
This installment is actually my introduction to the whole series. The high-octane, relentless button spamming of the previous games never appealed to me.
But if you whack a good old Sony Interactive Studios Presents on there, give me some Norse mythology and a father and child Last of Us style narrative, and baby, I'm yours! But to be honest, God of War 4 never really made me go nuts on the hype train. It didn't really have that much of a marketing campaign, and I'd only ever seen the one trailer, and I just assumed it would be like a 15-hour jolly jaunt and it would look really pretty, but it wouldn't be anything mind-blowing. Was I wrong? Was I ever?
Why are we doing this now?
I need to know you can survive the journey.
Then we leave for the mountain?
Depends on you. Hunt. What did you find?
Tracks. Not deer, though. I'll keep looking.
As you can see, God of War is played out from a third-person perspective. It's pretty standard, but Santa Monica still manages to add a uniqueness to it. Kratos is over on the far left side of the screen when usually the character would be more centered. It grants you a magnified visual of the surroundings, good for both gaping in awe about how beautiful everything is, or seeing more of your space when battling a gigantic monster who's trying to rip your beard off. And like most Sony first-party titles, as players we are here to experience the game as onlookers to the story, as opposed to feeling like we are the character.
Find it.
But trust me, in no way does that impede the feels. And straight away, the music made me take notice of it from the moment I pressed new game. You could definitely hear some inspiration from The Witcher 3. There was a cacophony of strings and powerful female vocals as the two characters opened with a moving scene. I hadn't even started yet, and I could already feel that burning in my throat from emotion. And the tiny details are pristine. The clouds of icy breath that hover around their mouths as they explore the forest, and how Atreus just reacts to the environment now and then when you stop and pause for a moment. He'll play with his knife, he'll lean up against a tree, he'll scrabble in the ground for something, just like kids do. It's awesome.
Oh, a big beefy chest. That can only mean one thing. Precious booty! Let's gently open the lid and not damage it, shall we?
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that.
Oh my god! Of War.
That is the most Kratos thing ever. What do we do when we find a chest? Smash the thing with our fist. Kratos, dude, maybe lay off the steads, yeah? It's so magnificently God of War. He even stomps on health stones. Mate, this isn't Dead Space, you know, Kratos. You could just pick them up with your giant hands instead. Stop breaking things!
Wow.
I also noticed that when you stop moving, there's an ever so slight quiver in the camera, and you don't often see this technique in gaming, but it's adopted in film quite a lot. It gives a sense of adrenaline to the scene, a heightened feeling of being on edge. Filmmakers will handhold their camera in moments of tension, like an argument or a scary walk down to a darkened basement. This works pretty well for a title like God of War, where in pretty much every scene, you're on edge.
Only fire when I tell you to fire.
I'm sorry.
Do not be sorry. Be better.
Don't be sorry, Atreus. Be fierce! Yes, queen, you better work. Oh, girl, get your life!
Okay, so I realise I have nothing to compare the combat to apart from meager gameplay clips that I've watched online of the previous trilogy, but I feel like this is so much more rewarding. I would say it's almost Souls-esque, and I hate using things to describe things as being like Dark Souls. But seriously, in this sense it is. You've got a heavy and a light attack, you've got a lock on, you've got dodges and rolls, shield blocking, and my ultimate favourite, the axe throw. Ooh, so satisfying!
I played on hard mode, aka give me a challenge, and it was exactly that, a challenge. So many games these days just hold your hand all the way through, but this one, whew, those boss fights, man. I mean, I made it through the majority of the game okay. Like the littler fights, the smaller groups and things like that, they were pretty okay. There was a few times where I died, but Those boss fights, I got my ass handed to me. There was a couple of occasions where I literally died about 10 times in a row. But it makes it all the more worthwhile when you actually do defeat them, or like when you're teetering on the edge and they're just about to die and every move matters. It's intense, and I love that.
It's not an entire departure from its insanely violent roots, however. In the boss fights, and particularly the fight with the stranger at the start, there are certainly elements of prior GOW titles neatly encompassed in the Spartan Rage, spam attacks, and all that good stuff. The voice actor for Kratos does a tremendous job of sounding threatening and uber scary.
Leave my home.
No way in hell I want to cross this dude. His voice is so low, it's almost like a cat growling at you.
Slow down. Your haste will cost us.
And the relationship between him and Atreus literally reminds me of Mufasa and Simba. It's adorable.
More Draugr. I didn't know what to do! You left me here! Again!
Alright, chill out. You know how games have bestiaries and journals and in-game guides, and they're usually boring as hell because they've been written in dev speak. There's a neat little twist in this, as the journal is written from the point of view of Atreus, sketches and all.
I mean, damn, that kid got skills. Dude, get that work up on Deviant. Aw, mate. Good sketches. Anyway, it's got that Life is Strange element where the documentation is actually a branch of the character's personality. So it makes you want to invest the time in reading the bestiary and the journals and the guides because it's written from Atreus' point of view, which is a really cool touch.
Hey, when we make it to the light, how do you think we get it into the Bifrost?
The witch said to step into it.
Climbing is a huge part of getting from A to B and solving puzzles. Scaling larger gaps like Horizon, Zero Dawn / Uncharted is also incorporated. However, the camera angle needs to be in the correct position in order for Kratos to actually jump. You can't just randomly place the analog stick in any old direction and press the command and the game goes along with it. It's a tiny amendment, but I liked it. It even further signifies that God of War has put more thought into its gameplay. And much more than an escort mission, Atreus can really hold his own and be an asset in battle. Pressing square commands him to fire arrows at enemies, distracting them from constantly coming at you. This is a blessing in boss battles. He is a good boy to have around. And as you progress through the game, you can level up his skill trees and get more combo things and cool little perks. And he's just a really cool additional player too, I suppose.
I told you I heard her! Do you think she's in there?
If things get a bit too bloody and you end up with dangerously low health, the signature video game bleeding out heart pumping screen goes red thing will happen, and sound effects and voices will go all echoey like you're about to pop your clogs any minute. Now this adds to the intensity. You will never want to roll out of the way of enemy blows more than in this moment.
All around me are familiar faces.
Boy! Where are you?
Press square for Atreus is literally the new press X for Sean! Oh my god. However, as opposed to Heavy Rain's random Sean spamming, this was used when Atreus runs off after a boar that they're hunting, and you need to call him to listen to the direction in which his voice is coming from.
Wait for me, boy!
It's like a little puzzle in itself, a maze nestled within the game, so it doesn't feel like a puzzle, but it's really well done. Speaking of puzzles, they are plentiful in God of War. Typically, you'll have to use your Leviathan axe to freeze points to do certain actions and get onto the next area. But unlike some puzzles in other video games, these ones never become repetitive. The game will ensure that you understand the mechanics, but then each time will slightly tweak it, so it remains challenging yet entertaining. You feel like you want to solve even the optional ones, like the rune chests, because it doesn't become tedious. If you're like me, someone who looks up walkthroughs for any kind of video game puzzle, then this is a real bonus, because I actually enjoyed it. Another aspect I really liked was the upgrade system that you do at Brock and Sindri's dwarven shops. Moving your axe, armor, or Atreus' bow onto the next level feels spaced out.
And even though you're the blooming god of war, for God's sake, it never once feels like you're too overpowered for the enemies that you're facing as you progress through the game. It's always a little bit of a challenge. There were so many times where I died numerous times in a row, and I was just sat there like, I just want to beat you. Please let me beat you. But it makes it all the more fist-pumpingly awesome when you do finally overcome that hurdle.
Speaking of upgrades, you can access your skill tree via the menu at any time and increase Kratos' attack, defense, and Spartan rage, or Atreus' own mad bow skills, using XP that you've gathered along the way. Resources are scattered throughout the lands, and while some are more conveniently placed, others are super tricky to find. Let's take Odin's ravens for example. I managed to locate a handful of these, but there were like 100 in total, and I thought I was sufficiently exploring too. Now, I'm no 100% completionist when playing games, but for those of you who are, expect to find this a bit of a struggle. The journey to spread Atreus' mother and Kratos' wife's ashes on the mountain peak will be mostly comprised of the relationship between the two.
Rather than being like Joel and Ellie's relationship, it's more Mufasa and Simba from the Lion King vibes. If Mufasa was a white-bearded god who curb-stomped his enemy's face, that is.
However, along the road, you'll meet a sprinkling of characters that help you and bring new personalities into the mix. This is another way Santa Monica keeps things fresh and new, rather than just having the entire story solely with Kratos' dismissive sternness and Atreus' curious childlike charm. You have the two dwarf brothers providing comic relief.
Yeah, but can you put it down over there? That handle is
No.
filthy.
The witch's motherly, kind-hearted contrast to Kratos.
Whatever you're hiding, you cannot protect him forever.
The stranger's menacing rivalry.
You hide out here in the woods like a coward.
Even the characters that don't speak, namely the mystical creatures like the witch's tortoise house or the iconic world serpent, they all add to this magical narrative.
Slow down, boy.
So going back to what I said at the start, yep, it does look pretty, and yep, it's a jolly jaunt. But God of War truly struck me and stuck with me in a way that I wasn't expecting. It kicked me in the feels, made me laugh out loud.
What are those?
Damn, it feels good to be a gangster.
had me gaping mouth open at how stunning it was. And most of all, I just had a hell of a blast playing it.
I'm actually going to let you in on a bit of a secret, guys, and this is actually serious. So, for about a year or so, I've been increasingly concerned that I have actually been growing out of video games. I was a bit worried that as I was getting older, I was not loving games as much because they weren't providing me with that experience that I used to have from games. They weren't shocking me or wowing me or exciting me or getting me thinking about them long after I'd finished playing them. I was a bit worried that I might be playing amazing games, but I just didn't feel the same anymore. And that was a really depressing thought because video games are my life, right? But then God of War 4 happened and it turned around to me, it took me by the shoulders, gave me a little shake and went, no, Lucy Hale, you still love video games as much as you ever have done before. And I am gonna show you why. Santa Monica Studios has done a sublime job of keeping God of War every bit as authentic as we remember, but fine-tuning it and tweaking it and adding a killer storyline to brush it up to today's standards. There's a reason why this is being described as one of the best PS4 games ever created for the console. There's a reason why nearly every reviewer out there is giving it 10 out of 10. This game is incredible, and I implore you, if you have a PlayStation 4, please go and play it and thank me later. God of War 4 achieves the status of HALE, obviously, duh. Thanks so much for watching, gamers and gameritas. Please do subscribe if you haven't already to become part of the Gamers and Gameritas gang. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram because I do stuff over there sometimes. And I will catch you in another game-related video somewhere in the future. Adios, gamers and gameritas. Boy. I am Kratos, to be honest, not gonna lie. God of War 4. Nope. God of War 4! Oh no. I'm trying to be cool and it's not working. God of War. Ah! God of War 4. Nope. God of War 4 achieves the status of upside down.